Lord of Mysteries 2, Circle-of-Inevitability. Chapter 137 Hooha. Lumion examined the letter with gloved hands and breathed a sigh of relief. No issues this time. Completing 3 consecutive spirit world creature summoning rituals had left him feeling drained. After a moment's consideration, Lumion asked the rabbit-like spirit world creature, "Can you do me another favor?" The rabbit thought seriously for a few seconds before giving a slow nod. Lumion unzipped his grayish-blue work uniform. "Then follow me first." The ethereal and transparent rabbit leaped from midair to Lumion's side, assuming the role of a loyal companion. Lumion sighed quietly and said, "What I mean is, you can hide inside my clothes to avoid detection by any beyonder with heightened spiritual perception." The rabbit wore a blank expression as it hopped into Lumion's clothes and curled up. Since it had no true mass or weight, his clothes could be zipped up quickly without leaving a trace. After stowing the letter in the same pocket, Lumion dissolved the spiritual barrier, removed his gloves, and exited room 207. He meandered toward Avenue du Marquet, nearing the Suet steam locomotive station. It was just past 5 o'clock, and many people were still at work. The street was neither crowded nor deserted. Groups of passers-by headed for the public carriage station sign or searched for the subway entrance. They carried their luggage and walked on foot to nearby streets in search of temporary accommodations for the night. Lumion patted his right pocket and pointed at the postbox several dozen meters away. Lowering his voice, he said, "See that green metal cylinder?" He felt a vibration in his pocket. The rabbit had responded in kind. Lumion exhaled in relief and instructed, "Place the letter beside you in that metal cylinder." Having said that, Lumion massaged his temples and activated his spirit vision. He watched the rabbit emerge, enveloping the plea for help. It maneuvered through the crowd and reached the green metal cylinder. Just as Lumion thought the rabbit would deposit the letter in the postbox and successfully complete the mission, the creature entered the postbox with the letter. Moments later, it exited the postbox and flew back to Lumion, leaving the letter inside. Lumion closed his eyes and consoled himself, "I suppose it's considered tossed in." He then left Avenue du Marquet with the rabbit and located a vacant alley. In Hermes' language, he informed the rabbit that the summoning was over. The little creature continuously drained his spiritual energy. After the rabbit returned to the spirit world, Lumion finally felt at ease. He resolved to stop aiding Charlie. The rest would hinge on how the official beyonders handled the situation. If it weren't for the fact that this matter is intriguing enough, I wouldn't have bothered to help him. Do I have to battle that enigmatic creature, Susanna Mattis, who's clearly formidable, on his behalf? Lumion mused silently. He chuckled. In Cordu, if those crude fellows understood the traits Susanna Mattis exhibited, they would undoubtedly ask slyly whether he wanted to fight her in bed or in the hayloft. Of course, Lumion could be just as coarse when dealing with them. On his way back to Rue Anarchy, he discovered a meat patty shop and purchased red snapper hot beef meatloaf for dinner. Paired with the soda sold by street vendors, Lumion navigated the crowd as he ate, occasionally evading hands that covertly reached for his wallet. Compared to Rouen meatloaf, red snapper hot beef meatloaf was less greasy. The fish was refreshing and delicate, the beef savory and crispy, the dough's subtle sweetness had a bite, and the aroma of spices and fat ignited Lumion's taste buds one by one with a rich texture. After eating and drinking his fill, he clutched the glass bottle that still contained a third of the pale red liquid and sighed appreciatively. No wonder the Trierians love meatloaves. When I get the chance, I'll visit Rue Richelieu in the Library District and try the first restaurant that created red snapper hot beef meatloaf. Based on the newspapers and magazines he had perused before, he could recite several famous meatloaves off the top of his head. Deegan meatloaf, Perigord meatloaf, Tadinen cashew pie, mincemeat pie. Sipping the pomegranate-flavored soda, Lumion turned onto Rue Anarchy. What met his gaze was a chaotic tableau. The suspected gangsters brandished either axes or clubs, squaring off in the street. Pedestrians steered clear, and the vendors retreated from Rue Anarchy one by one. The residents of the houses on both sides slammed their windows shut. Lumion didn't venture further. He backtracked a few steps and found a wall pillar to conceal himself behind as he observed the unfolding scene with interest. He suspected that his assassination of the poisoned sperm mob's Margot had aroused the suspicions of several gangs in the market district, ultimately escalating into a standoff. After waiting nearly 15 minutes, Lumion still didn't witness the mobsters erupt into full-scale combat. His anticipation for the confrontation left him disappointed. He cursed under his breath. "Are you guys going to do this or not? You're blocking the street without fighting. Do you think you have too much time on your hands?" With that in mind, Lumion glanced at the 5-story grayish-white building beside him. He seriously contemplated finding a room and hurling the empty soda bottle between the two factions, tricking them into believing the opposing mob leader had signaled the start of the battle. That way, Lumion would have a spectacle to enjoy. Just as he was about to put his plan into action, a large contingent of police officers in black uniforms appeared at both ends of Rue Anarchy. Leading them were officers on tall brown or black horses, brandishing shields and clubs. They advanced towards the mobsters step by step, exuding an immense pressure that caused many of the gangsters to waver. When the mounted police charged, the mobsters gathered on Rue Anarchy dispersed. Some fled, while others were beaten to the ground. Lumion couldn't help but want to applaud. His thirst for excitement was thoroughly quenched. He had only read about such scenes in novels and news articles, the latter of which often glossed over the gritty details. In no time, Rue Anarchy returned to its usual cacophony. Lumion finished his last sip of pomegranate soda and sauntered back to Aubert's du Coq d'Or, entering room 207. Sitting by the bed, he replayed the entire process of writing and posting the letter in his mind to ensure he hadn't overlooked any details that could expose him to the official beyonders. After a while, Lumion sighed softly. "If only I had a messenger! It wouldn't have been so troublesome." Unfortunately, obtaining a messenger wasn't easy. Even his sister Aurora didn't have one. To date, Lumion knew of only 2 people who possessed a messenger. One was Madame Magician, and the other was the curly-haired Baboons Research Society's vice president, Hela, whom Aurora had mentioned. Hela. Lumion's expression gradually darkened. If the Aurora in his dream indeed bore some influence from her soul fragment, it was apparent that Aurora trusted the vice president a great deal. Her first move upon encountering a problem was to summon the other party's messenger for assistance. I wonder if Hela knows Aurora's true identity, or if she discovered through that obituary that Aurora has already passed on. Lumion muttered to himself. As he pondered, an idea struck him. It was actually possible for him to summon Hela's messenger. The summoning incantation comprised only 3 sentences. Lumion was certain the last phrase was, "A messenger that belongs to Hela." The first 2 sentences followed a fixed format and requirements. As long as he attempted a few more combinations, he'd find the correct sequence. Moreover, under such circumstances, Lumion wouldn't face any danger even if the initial combinations were incorrect. This was because the description of a messenger belonging to Hela eliminated other possibilities. In other words, he'd either fail to summon it or successfully summon Hela's messenger. Should I write a letter to Hela and inform her of what happened to Aurora? Lumion found himself momentarily stumped. Considering that his sister had mentioned my notebook when she pushed him away, and that much of the mystical knowledge in her notebook originated from the curly-haired Baboons Research Society, Lumion quickly made up his mind. If he could establish a connection with this organization, it would aid him in uncovering the crucial information hidden within the Warlock notebook. He resolved to summon Hela's messenger right away. Although he still harbored doubts about the curly-haired Baboons Research Society's vice president, he didn't believe he possessed any value she coveted. Besides, Aurora had trusted Hela while she was alive. Lumion walked to the wooden table, sat down, and began writing. Honorable Madam Hela, I apologize for writing you this letter. I am Muggle's younger brother. I regret to inform you that she encountered misfortune and has passed away. This involves a catastrophe brought about by worshipping an evil god. Only a few people and I escaped. I'm not sure if this matter interests you, so I won't elaborate. I don't wish to waste your time. What I want to know is, did Muggle mention anything suspicious to you in the past year? After staring at the letter for a few seconds, Lumion slowly exhaled and folded the paper. He then cleaned the room, set up the altar again, and attempted the first combination. The spirit that wanders about the unfounded, a friendly creature that can be subordinated, a messenger that belongs solely to Hela. After reciting the incantation, Lumion gazed at the dark green candle flame and patiently awaited the messenger's arrival. Time ticked by, but nothing happened on the altar. Undeterred, Lumion spoke again. I summon in my name. The spirit wandering above the world. The friendly creature that can be subordinated. A messenger that belongs solely to Hela. The dark green candle flame suddenly flickered and grew larger. At that moment, not only did the area above remain unlit, but it also grew darker. In the darkness, a shape quickly materialized. It was a human-like skull, seemingly forged from pure silver. It emitted a gentle light that dispelled the encroaching darkness. Pale white flames burned in the skull's eye sockets, instilling a sense of danger in Lumion. After staring at Lumion for a few seconds, the pure silver skull opened its mouth and bit down on the airborne letter. Then, it retreated back into the reassembled darkness.